About this fight, I know you pretty well, and it seems like you're a bit subdued in the lead up to this.
Not subdued, but I know what I'm here to do. I've got a task at hand, and I'm excited to lift the title. I'm not as excited, I love Justin Gaethje, I don't really want to batter him, but I'm gonna have to, you know what I mean? There's no bad blood at all, there's no animosity, I've got nothing but...
She just destroyed her own career with one Instagram story, and nobody saw it coming. We're talking about a fighter who's been mentally preparing for war for 8 straight weeks, visualizing his opponent trying to injure him every single day, and now he's about to unleash that psychological torture on the biggest stage possible. This isn't just another fight. This is about one man trying to strip another of everything he's built, everything he's sacrificed for, and the mental warfare that's been brewing behind the scenes is absolutely insane.
Bittersweet, but he's the one standing in the way. My dreams and my goals, so he's the one that's gonna have to get put.
Here's where it gets wild. When they asked this fighter if there was any hostility between him and his opponent, his response was bone-chilling. Beyond the point that he's trying to strip me of everything, he said. Think about what that means for a second. This isn't some playground beef or Twitter drama. We're talking about a competitor who genuinely believes his opponent is trying to destroy his entire legacy, his reputation, years of blood and sweat in the octagon. When the stakes are that high, when someone's threatening to take away everything you've worked for, hostility becomes a survival mechanism. And here's the kicker. This mental battle has been consuming him for 2 solid months.
But we'll see. I mean, he's super dangerous. Technical abilities to take advantage of those mistakes. He's going to make mistakes, advantage of that, when he gets there. Trying to take him down, which was absolutely foolish. I think it was 2-3 times Michael Chandler took him down in the first round. He's lifting him up over his head. Classic Michael Chandler.
But wait, it gets even more intense. This fighter revealed something that'll give you chills. For 8 or 9 weeks straight, he said, each day my opponent emerges from my mind with one purpose. He's set to injure me. Can you imagine living with that kind of mental pressure? Every morning you wake up and the first thing in your head is this guy who wants to hurt you, who wants to embarrass you in front of your family and friends. That's not just fight preparation, that's psychological warfare at the highest level. And get this, he's been carrying this burden while trying to maintain his normal life, train properly, and deal with media obligations. The mental strength required to channel that kind of obsessive focus is absolutely mind-blowing.
Which, by the way, you're then counting on a lot of luck once he gets there. Or a lot of good success once he gets there, keeping him there, submitting him, passing to positions, pounding him out, whatever it is you think's going to happen. But it has to start with the takedown, if you subscribe to that. And meanwhile, the argument would be if it stays on his feet that it would go to Gaethje. Is it that straightforward? I don't think so. And based on what we've seen, I could see where you could come to that conclusion. I'm just sharing, if you follow the sport as a whole, we don't really see that anymore. We don't really see a lot of this, this guy's the better striker and this guy's the better grappler. That's very 1993 thinking.
Now here's where the confidence becomes almost scary. When someone suggested his opponent might try to turn this into a striking battle, this fighter's reaction was pure dismissal. "Oh, I don't even hear that," he said, almost laughing at the idea. That's not just confidence. That's a man who's so locked into his game plan that he doesn't even acknowledge alternative scenarios. He's already decided how this fight goes down, and nothing his opponent says or does is going to change that vision. "I promise you that," he added, and you could feel the conviction dripping from every word. This level of self-belief either leads to spectacular victory or devastating reality checks, and we're about to find out which one.
That there'd be some sort of interim title on the line like there is now in January?
No, not at first. I thought I was going to fight him in October, but then obviously Aaliyah won the belt, and I was in the octagon with him, and I thought, oh, this could happen. And then, to be honest, I thought I was going to fight on this card, so for about 3 weeks, we were training for Aaliyah. And then obviously he come out and said that he won't be fighting in the first half of the year, so couple of, like 2 days later, I got a phone call saying it's going to be Justin Gaethje for the interim title. I was like, yeah, let's do this. As you know, I never say no to a fight, and when that got offered to me, I jumped it.
So let's talk about the fight everyone's obsessing over, Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje. And listen, the interviews leading up to this have become the most talked about content in MMA right now. Everyone's picking sides, everyone's got an opinion, and the debates are getting heated. On one side, you've got people convinced this turns into a chaotic brawl that favors Paddy's unpredictable style. On the other side, you've got seasoned analysts who think Paddy's walking into a buzzsaw against a proven killer like Gaethje. But here's the one thing absolutely everyone agrees on: this will not be a technical, measured affair. This is going to be pure chaos from the opening bell, and whoever can manage that madness better wins the fight. Which raises the question: how is anyone calling Paddy the underdog in a chaotic environment where anything can happen?
I've said it so many times today, but he's your favourite fighter's favourite fighter. He's one of my favourite fighters to watch, and I hope when I beat him he doesn't retire. I hope he has some more fights. I hope he doesn't retire once I beat him, but that's what's going to happen. I'm going to beat him just like I beat Michael Chandler. I'll beat him to the punch on the feet. I'll ruin his legs with kicks. I think it'll be quite poetic if I end up finishing him with leg kicks, like, which I can see he doesn't really throw his anymore. He stopped throwing them, and I'm going to damage his calf, and if it does go to the ground, it'll be over even faster.
And here's something that changes the entire narrative. Paddy recently dropped a bombshell that most people missed. This fight against Gaethje was never his original plan for the year. Think about that for a second. He was deep in camp preparing for a completely different opponent, training for an entirely different style matchup. The Gaethje opportunity only materialized after the title picture shifted and created this opening. So while everyone's analyzing months of preparation and game planning, the reality is Paddy had to completely pivot his entire approach in a matter of weeks. That's either incredible adaptability or a recipe for disaster, and the stakes couldn't be higher to find out which one it is.
Chandler, is there anything that you can take from a camp where you prepare for a guy like Chandler into a camp for Justin Gaethje?
Yeah, Michael Chandler's just like a not as good version as Justin Gaethje.
But here's where Paddy's perspective gets really interesting. He has genuine respect for Gaethje as a warrior who's earned his reputation through years of wars with the best fighters on the planet. But, and this is crucial, he doesn't see Gaethje as some untouchable legend. Paddy firmly believes that Gaethje has slowed down in certain areas, creating openings that his grappling skills are perfectly designed to exploit. It's a fascinating dynamic because you've got a rising star who respects the veteran, but isn't intimidated by him. Paddy sees vulnerabilities where others see an unstoppable force, and he's betting his entire career trajectory on being right about those perceived weaknesses.
Defensive wrestlers, but you know, like, I'll never forget DC laughing at me fight week when I said I'll take Michael Chandler down. He's like, what, you won't take him down? I was like, I will. That's why he was so flabbergasted on the commentary when I actually did take him down. If I want to take Justin Gaethje down, I'll take him down. I know he's got good wrestling, but no one's got wrestling like me. I don't wrestle like a Division 1 wrestler. I wrestle like an MMA fighter.
And that's your own almost superpower, that you're able to do things in a different way. Do you like proving people wrong?
Oh, that is one of my main motivations. Proving people wrong, shutting people up. It's been one of them since I first started doing this sport when I was 15.
Now let's dive into what makes this even more compelling. Paddy has consistently shown the ability to learn and evolve from his mistakes, which is exactly what separates good fighters from great ones. He's been vocal about the lessons he learned from his war with Michael Chandler, and that fight served as his coming-out party in terms of proving he could hang with elite competition. That performance showed the world he could mix striking with grappling against high-level wrestlers, and more importantly, that he could impose his will on opponents who were supposed to dominate him. Going into this Gaethje fight, that confidence from the Chandler victory is stronger than ever, and Paddy sees this as another opportunity to prove that people's limited perception of his skills doesn't match the reality of what he can do inside the octagon.
Ultimately, I have to say, yeah, I mean, we're here. You know, he's done some great things. He's actually, he finished Michael Chandler. I didn't finish Michael Chandler. And
here's something that's going to blow your mind about this matchup. Despite everyone talking about striker versus grappler, both of these guys are actually elite-level wrestlers. I know that sounds crazy when you think of Gaethje as this knockout artist, but his wrestling credentials are absolutely legit. This completely changes the dynamic because instead of a simple grappler versus striker narrative, we might see an unexpected ground battle between two guys who know how to wrestle at the highest level. It throws every prediction out the window because now you have to consider scenarios where Gaethje might actually want to test his wrestling against Paddy's, or where Paddy might find himself in scrambles he wasn't expecting.
Take him down, which was absolutely foolish. I think it was 2-3 times Michael Chandler took him down in the first round. He's lifting him up over his head. Classic Michael Chandler. I mean, once Chandler's past the first round, especially when he tries to wrestle the whole first round, pretty much any in shape can take him down. The guy gets really tired. Wrestling is tiring, and his wrestling is very tiring.
Meanwhile, Gaethje has been making the media rounds sharing his side of the story, and his respect for Paddy is genuine but calculated. He openly admitted that Paddy has accomplished things that captured people's attention, specifically pointing to that Chandler knockout that he himself never managed to achieve. But here's where Gaethje's veteran wisdom shows. He emphasized that timing and reliability are everything at this level. He talked about how squandered opportunities, weight issues, and chaotic moments can destroy a career regardless of talent. It's a not-so-subtle reminder that potential means nothing without execution, and Gaethje has seen too many rising stars flame out when the pressure gets real. And get this, there's been some fascinating side conversations happening that add another layer to this whole situation. People are talking about fights like Oliveira versus Holloway for the BMF belt, and then someone casually mentioned that Sarakian is probably more deserving than either Paddy or Gaethje right now. That comment highlights the brutal reality of the lightweight division, where even getting a big opportunity doesn't guarantee you deserve it, and there's always someone else grinding in the background who might have a better claim to that spot. It's the kind of political complexity that makes every fight carry extra weight beyond just winning and losing. But here's where the mental game gets really deep. Both fighters have confirmed there's no personal animosity between them, which actually makes this more dangerous, not less. When it's purely professional, when it's just about competition and legacy, that's when fighters are at their most focused and calculated. Gaethje sees Paddy as someone trying to take everything he's built over years of wars, and that threat to his life's work is all the motivation he needs. He's been visualizing Paddy trying to hurt him for weeks, building up that mental construct of threat and response that turns a respectful competitor into a dangerous enemy for 15 or 25 minutes. Here's Gaethje's master plan, and it's brilliant in its simplicity. He doesn't believe this stays easy for Paddy, and he's predicting errors that come from Paddy overcommitting and creating openings. While Paddy's talking about ending it early, Gaethje wants to drag this fight into deep waters, the 4th and 5th rounds where his cardio and experience become weapons. He's not chasing a quick finish because he knows that's where young fighters make mistakes. Instead, he's planning to be patient, precise, and let his veteran savvy take over when Paddy's early aggression starts to fade. The question is whether Paddy's power and grappling can end things before Gaethje's strategy pays off. When Gaethje was asked about Paddy's plan to make this a striking match, his dismissal was absolute. "I pay no mind to that," he said, and you could hear the confidence in his voice. He acknowledges that Paddy is dangerous and uses all his power, but he also sees the openings that creates. It's the classic veteran mindset: respect the opponent's strengths, but focus on exploiting their weaknesses. Gaethje knows that powerful, aggressive fighters often leave themselves exposed, and at this level, you can't afford those kinds of errors. One mistake against someone with Gaethje's finishing ability and the fight's over. And here's where it gets tactical. Gaethje completely dismissed the idea that Paddy's win over Chandler tells the whole story for this fight. He pointed out that Chandler's aggressive style exhausts him quickly and creates openings later in rounds, something Gaethje has no intention of doing. His superior cardio, his ability to maintain pace without wasting energy, and his experience in championship rounds are all part of the blueprint. It raises a fascinating question about fighting styles and whether Paddy's success against one type of opponent translates to success against a completely different approach. Now let's hear from the experts, because their takes are absolutely wild. Chael Sonnen came out swinging, directly challenging the idea that Paddy is some unique, unstoppable force. From Sonnen's perspective, Paddy's skilled, but he's not doing anything so revolutionary that it should worry an experienced killer like Gaethje. At this level, Elite fighters have seen every style, every approach, every trick. Sonen's argument was that people are overthinking this. Gaethje has been in there with the best in the world, and nothing about Paddy's game should cause panic or major strategy changes. But Beneil Darius had a completely different take, and his perspective is fascinating. He thinks this fight is more about timing than ability. Gaethje is further along in his career and in the brutal lightweight division that eventually shows up. Meanwhile, Paddy's still improving, still addressing weaknesses, and the public hasn't seen his full potential yet. Here's the kicker, though. Darius pointed out that most of Gaethje's biggest wins came in striking battles. But when fights get grappling heavy and chaotic, Gaethje's results have been less impressive. And that's exactly the type of fight Paddy brings, even if he's not perfect at it yet. Colby Covington's analysis was absolutely brutal in its honesty. He basically said if Paddy wins, it says more about Gaethje's current state than Paddy's actual skills. Covington focused on all the damage Gaethje has taken over his career, the wars, the knockouts, especially that devastating loss to Dustin Poirier. In Covington's view, those battles have taken their toll, and Paddy might be catching Gaethje at the perfect time when Father Time is starting to catch up. But he also warned that Gaethje knows what's at stake and won't just roll over. This is a desperate, dangerous veteran with nothing left to lose. And then there's Arman Tsarukyan's take, which might be the most telling of all. He openly admitted he's rooting for Gaethje, not because of skills or matchups, but because Gaethje represents something he respects. A fighter who always shows up and never backs down from anyone. But here's the shot at Paddy. Tsarukyan suggested that if Paddy wins this fight, he probably wouldn't be eager to face someone like Arman next. The implication is clear. Paddy might prefer protecting his new status over continuing to challenge himself against the toughest possible opponents. It's a question about heart and warrior spirit that goes beyond technique and game plans. So here's where we stand. You've got a rising star in Paddy who's convinced he's about to announce himself as the next big thing in the lightweight division, facing off against a proven veteran in Gaethje, who's fighting to protect everything he's built over years of wars. The mental warfare has been brewing for months. Both guys are elite wrestlers despite the striker versus grappler narrative, and the experts are split on whether this is about skill, timing, or just who wants it more. One thing's absolutely certain. This fight is going to be chaos from the first bell, and whoever can impose their will in that madness walks away with their career trajectory completely changed. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Is this Paddy's breakout moment or Gaethje's veteran masterclass? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really at stake, smash that like button, subscribe for more fight analysis, and hit the bell because the lightweight division is about to get turned upside down. I'll see you in the next one. But wait, there's something we haven't talked about yet that could completely change everything, the betting odds, and what they're actually telling us about this fight. The bookmakers have Gaethje as a significant favorite, but here's the crazy part: the public money is starting to shift toward Paddy in a big way. When you see that kind of movement, it usually means one of two things. Either casual fans are betting with their hearts instead of their heads, or the smart money sees something the odds makers missed. And in a sport as unpredictable as MMA, those line movements can reveal hidden truths about what's really going to happen when the cage door closes. Here's what's absolutely fascinating about the fight dynamics that nobody's talking about. Both of these guys have shown they can adapt mid-fight when their original game plan isn't working, but they do it in completely different ways. Gaethje adjusts through experience and veteran instincts. He's been in enough wars to recognize when something's not working and switch gears without panicking. Paddy, on the other hand, adapts through pure creativity and improvisation. He'll try something completely unexpected that his opponent never saw coming. The question is, in a 15 or 25-minute fight, which type of adaptation proves more effective under the bright lights and enormous pressure? And here's a psychological factor that's going to be huge: the crowd energy and how each fighter feeds off it. Paddy has built his entire persona around being this larger-than-life character who thrives on chaos and unpredictability. When the arena is going crazy, when people are on their feet screaming, that's when Paddy seems to find another gear and pull off something spectacular. But Gaethje is the opposite. He's most dangerous when he can stay calm, calculated, and focused despite the noise around him. So the crowd reaction could literally determine the fight's outcome, depending on who can better harness that energy and turn it into a weapon. Let's talk about something that could be the deciding factor: cardio and pacing strategies. Everyone assumes this is going to be a wild brawl that ends early, but what if it doesn't? What if both guys are more cautious than expected, feeling each other out and trying not to make the first big mistake? Gaethje has proven he can maintain his power and technique deep into championship rounds, even after taking significant damage. Paddy's cardio has improved dramatically, but it's never been tested against someone who can consistently pressure him for 25 minutes. If this fight goes long, we might see a completely different version of both fighters than anyone's expecting. Here's something that's flying under the radar: the referee assignment and how that could impact the fight's flow. Different refs have different tolerance levels for clinch work, ground control, and what they consider stalling versus active grappling. If Paddy gets his hands on Gaethje and wants to work his grappling game, the referee's interpretation of action versus control could literally determine who wins rounds. It's one of those factors that fans don't think about, but fighters and their camps absolutely obsess over during fight week preparation. But here's the real kicker that nobody saw coming. Both fighters have been dealing with injury concerns during their camps, and while neither is pulling out of the fight, these nagging issues could become major factors once the adrenaline wears off and the real damage starts accumulating. Paddy's been managing some lingering issues from his war with Chandler, and Gaethje's body has absorbed an incredible amount of punishment over the years. Sometimes fights aren't won by the better fighter. They're won by whoever's body holds up better under extreme stress, and we might be about to see that play out in real time. The stakes for this fight go way beyond just winning and losing, and that pressure could break someone or elevate them to a completely different level. For Paddy, this is his chance to prove he belongs with the elite and isn't just a hype train waiting to get derailed. For Gaethje, this is about proving he's still got enough left in the tank to make another serious title run and isn't ready to pass the torch to the next generation. When careers and legacies are on the line like this, fighters either rise to the occasion or crumble under the weight of expectations, and we're about to find out which category each of these warriors falls into when it matters most.